Hello and welcome to this episode of the Summer of Self-Love. I'm excited to bring you Anna Kowalska because she's one of the people that I love to talk to about self-love. So it's really beautiful. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Mia. I love talking with you too. It's always just so much fun and joy to have a conversation together.
Yeah. And the topic of self-love, we can, as we were talking before,
Mhm.
we can expand upon it where others can't into
Yeah.
the result, which is called self-love, right? Everything leads to this self-awareness of an inner peace and love. So thank you for
Mhm.
being that person. I love
My honor, for sure.
that.
Mhm.
Thank you. So let's start off with how did you discover self-love?
Mhm.
What a little bit, what does your journey look like? And then we're going to get into some teaching stuff since this is
Mhm.
a teaching type of a program.
Yeah, so great. So I'm sure, like most people here, self-love to me at first was I do nice things for myself. I take a bubble bath, I look up at the sky. So it was just these tangible ways that I do. I buy myself something pretty, or, I have ice cream. Like self-love meant doing something that I normally wouldn't do. And then my journey expanded into, and it was at a time when I had physically, I had everything one could want, but there was something missing, and I discovered it was my connection to spirit, connection to the soul that I am. And that's when my self-love conversation took a different spin. Along the way, I learned a tool that I use right now, scientific hand analysis, which helps me identify people's soul blueprint. And there is actually a whole section, which 75% of population has markings that put them in school of love, where self-love is the lesson and the way to express oneself. 75% of population right now. So I started to learning about, like, well, what does that mean? Why are there so many of us that are learning that about self-love? And that's when the journey and the education went deeper. So it went beyond the bubble baths and, a pretty piece of jewelry or flowers that I have right in front of me that I still buy myself. And it went into more of that understanding that self-love may mean boundaries. Self-love may mean, more than anything, asking yourself, who am I? Why am I here? And giving yourself permission to pursue a life that lives that depicts that, right? So really knowing at every level, what is it that I want? What is it that I really, really want? Not because I feel that I need, so I could belong because I need to belong or to stay safe. But really, what do I want? What kind of people do I want to be around? What kind of conversations? What kind of work? What kind of environment? What do I want to look at, right? So it's coming from the inside, from my connection to my higher self, and asking, what does that higher part of me want to express? So what work do I do? How do I spend my time? Where do I put my energy into? So self-love took on this much bigger, important role on my journey, where everything that wasn't self-love had to go. But first, you have to understand, what is self-love for me, right? What does my self-love look like? So it will be different for every single person. What will be self-love for you loving yourself, for you, Mia, and actually not even a person, but stage in life. What it may look like for you, right? This year, in this summer, because this is a summer of self-love. So this summer may look very different than last summer or the fall, right? For some people, this summer could be self-love filled with, I take care of myself emotionally. So I ask myself, what kind of people do I want around me? What kind of emotions do I want to be able to express? What am I afraid to express emotionally because of situations I created that I'm afraid to, create chaos? For some people, self-love may look like I pour myself into my work. So most people have a conversation of, summer, it's summer. We should have fun. It should be fancy, footloose and fancy free. Yes, maybe, but what if your self-love this summer looks like I pour myself into work? So maybe I do it in beautiful places outside, like I live in Denver, Colorado, right? So we'll go camping and I make sure we have a Wi-Fi because I am pouring myself into my work, right? And that's my way of loving myself this summer. I'm giving my energy and my attention into what is here for me to do this summer. So asking deeper questions about if I loved myself, I love this question. If I loved myself unconditionally, how would I handle this? If I loved myself unconditionally, where would I give my energy? If I loved myself unconditionally, how would I be being right now?
Beautiful. You know, this is really powerful. So as you're talking in the beginning, I'm thinking about my summer because, you know, I do plan out my summers and I make sure, well, at least for the last couple years.
Yeah.
And because I don't know if everybody knows, some people do, but I've been on this huge journey since 2020 to a different form of self-discovery. It's almost like I want and I ask all the time, how can I love myself more? Now, it may sound crazy to people because I've been a public teacher for 15 years, right? I've been on this journey since I was 24. So now I won't tell you how long, but it's 30 plus years and we're getting in the plus up to the other side. So it's beautiful to identify for ourselves. See, the other is ego to say, oh, I've been doing this for so long. I don't have to do it. Or I've been doing this for so long. Why am I not where I'm supposed to be? So everyone needs to drop the judgment and enjoy the pleasure of what is about to happen, right? And so I've never heard anybody, I've seen my partner work this way, Lori Montree, we're the you, but I've never heard anybody, and now I have the proper terms, and I want to tear up here, the proper terms to share with my husband, because he's like, you're always on your phone working, because I work from my phone. And I say to him, you're always on your phone passing memes around. Why don't you do something else, you know? And I need to butt out of that business and back to mine. But what you said, that the most beautiful form of self-love for you this summer will be working in the camping or wherever, right? Because that excites you. I understand that. So now I have the actual words to share with my husband. This excites me. This keeps me elated. So thank you. And let's all do that, right? It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And you know, so can I add something to that? Imagine you having conversation with your husband and just saying, well, butt out, right? Like, this is what I want to do. You can imagine what that will create.
Right.
Right. And then imagine having a conversation in a way, I love doing this work. It excites me. It enlivens me, right?
Right. Yeah.
It spins me into places that otherwise I probably wouldn't go in the most beautiful way, right? Yeah. It raises my soul. All of a sudden, he's like, oh, okay, I get it. How can we create opportunities for you? My dog loves the conversation. Can you hear him? Okay. He's all about self-love.
He's like, Mama, I'm doing it.
That's right. Let me tell you what I think about it. So imagine having a conversation with your loved one, somebody who might say, well, that gets in the way of us, or that gets in the way of our fun. Yeah, but this is what I love. And if I am doing something that I love, maybe for the next 2-3 months and pour myself into it, of course, we'll have agreements, but then you have a better me. Right? Because I am filled with love. And now I get to love you with all this love.
It's really beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I'm excited about this summer because I'm going back to the island in Washington. And because Miami's too hot for me.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
So I'm just like, I can't wait to be outside working and also not working, you know, just enjoying friends that are going to stop by. And I, my friends, look, you got, and this is my self-love for me. I told them, if I don't have you guys stopping by, then I'm going back to Miami. So they're like, we will. I said, it has to be weekly. Otherwise, why am I here? And that may sound selfish, right? That may sound selfish for somebody listening, like, well, who are you to say that? I'm putting it out in a funny fun way for them. Like, I'm coming home to spend time with you guys too. I love you. Let's do it. Otherwise, I could be somewhere else. So however that lands with people, it's the authenticness of who I am. It was my truth. And there was a time, and not even that long ago, maybe a year ago or less, that I could not speak my truth that honestly or that authentically. So in that, I have to say, not praise in an ego way, but way to go, Mia, that you could speak up for yourself. Because if you don't tell your friends what you're expecting, how are they going or would like to participate in? How are they supposed to know, right? They're not mind readers. And then we get mad. And that happened to me before. I come home to see them, and then they're like thinking that I have a lot of time. And then I'm like, okay, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Bye, guys. If you don't come by, I won't get to see you. And so it's really not assuming and stepping into that authentic place, right?
Yes, absolutely. You brought up a great point, Mia. Self-love means in this situation that you described, I love myself and ask to ask for what I need. And from this place, it gives everybody else a chance to be in their self-love and love me in a way that works for me, right? So it's so beautiful because you're absolutely right. I know we all do it. I've done it too, where I didn't make it clear what I need, and then I get upset and I get I cover it up. I get manipulative about it. I get weird about it. People don't know what's going on. They're questioning, like, why is she this way? I don't even know that I am a different way. So it just coming from a place of what is the most loving thing I could do right now for me is I make this request. I'm coming for 2 weeks and I'm coming to see you. These are the dates I'm there. I'd love to see you every week. So make it work. I don't care if it's 15, I'm saying maybe that's not you, but I don't care if it's 15 minutes on Tuesday. You stop by and say hi, right? Or you bring your, this is so weird. I have this vision. I don't even know if this is true, but like, if one of your friends is making dinner and they're like, I need to cut up vegetables. All right, bring your vegetables, cut them up on my porch and we'll talk. I don't know. I just had this visual.
Yeah. Well, most of my friends are, a couple of them are married, but most of them are younger women on the island that are just so mystics and so beautiful that it's like, come over and let's make it together. Let's make that food together. Or one of my girlfriends, I said, which I thought was very much in alignment to show her love as it was to me, I found a recipe for making chili oil, and I shared it with her. And I said, let's do this when I get back on the island. And she's like, oh my God, I wanted to do that for years. Didn't know really how. Let's do it. So sometimes our fun, like I think that creating things, you and I are creators. So it's about creating a life that loves you back. Sometimes in that creating, we have to be the creative one and say, look at this. Would you like to do this with me? Because that's how life is. It's not about just coming and sitting and moping. It's about doing things, right? It's exploring life. To explore, why not with the ones that we love?
One of my mentors says, how often do we go to a party and say, well, that party wasn't fun? And he says, but were you fun at the party? Like, if the party isn't fun, but you're already there, create the fun, right? And I'm like, yes, if there is a situation that I'm a part of, or I want to be a part of, create it. That's expression of self-love. I love myself enough to take a risk on organizing something, creating something, asking somebody to do something with me. I love myself enough to make that request, to create it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But my expression of self-love was creating this thing that I wanted to experience.
Can I share something? Also,
yes.
So beautiful. So last year I noticed that I was a creator of things with my friends, like come up with these great ideas and I would implement them. And if it didn't work out right, I'd get hurt or whatever, right? So that's that self-involved. And then I started hearing a beautiful voice that started a couple years ago, but now it's every time I'm out of alignment, I hear it, it says, love more. And so what that does is it makes me go, okay, now how would this feel to love more, to love differently? And so it drops all the cleanness or the why didn't it happen or the assumptions. And then it's a beautiful gift of energy for the other person too, right? It's the doorway, the pathway of more. And I've noticed that when I look at life to love more each experience, I don't have that voice that has to say love more because I'm in the love alignment rather than out of it. And that's really the beautiful thing, right? It's about, so we started off with talking about how self-love is the expression of all the self-care stuff, right? Isn't this what we're talking about? The most fabulous expression of what self-love truly is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for
So
letting me share.
That was beautiful example. Yes, that was a beautiful example. I loved every aspect of it, and how you saw that, you know what, let me love more in this moment instead of being in the perfectionist and then resentment or whatever else comes up. I know I'm totally, I have so many stories when I was much younger. But it comes up too. I mean, this last weekend, my partner asked me, "Hey, I'm meeting a couple friends." And I was already in my jammies. He goes, "Put some sweats on, come meet us," right? And I was like, "Oh no, I have to look a certain way because of where they were." So we still are in those conversations, right? I chose to stay in my jammies. And maybe that was really self-loving for me in that moment. It was, because I was like, I need to stay in my jammies with my dog cuddling up next to me. It's perfect. But we very often we are attached to how things need to look, right? Attached to this is I had this vision for how this will play out, and now it isn't. And that's a beautiful place to go. Like, how can I love what's happening? People are still here together. Let's not even make the best of it, but like love what's happening so it becomes the best version without us trying to manipulate it. It's perfect.
And also it's beautiful when you have that intention of love more, even for those situations, allow them. So don't stop it with your partner like you didn't, right? And you've got to come home now because I'm not coming out. If you ask yourself or hear the words love more and look into what that means, that's a gentleness of allowance, right? So they get to do what they wanted to do without feeling guilty or anything. It's a beautiful win-win. If we can use that in this context, that's really beautiful. We have some teaching tools. I just want to talk to you. This is so good. We have some teaching tools that you're going to share, because I promise that this is a teaching class. But that wasn't a teaching episode. It really was. We were both on fire there. So you like to share that you share with your people about self-love?
Yeah. So one of them I already shared with you, which is this question of, if I really loved myself unconditionally right now, how would I handle it? How would I be? What would it look like? How would I feel if I really loved myself? So constantly being in the questioning, as often as we remember, to ask ourselves. Sometimes it's really difficult in the heat of the moment. It's really difficult to say, if I love myself, how would I be with this person that's really driving me nuts right now? Right? But as soon as we can take a breath and come back and say, oh, if I love myself, right? Another beautiful way to ask a question, and this isn't mine, I heard from somebody else, what would love do? What would love do?
That's something that I ask all the time. For you.
Right? Like, what would love do?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then asking tool, how deep do you want to go with tools? But diving deeply into what authenticity. So part of the work that I do with my clients is discovering who they are, right? Because we know we've learned to wear masks, we've learned to be a certain way, and our adult stage of our life, when we awaken, it's unlearning all the ways that we blocked our authentic self, right? So constantly being in the work, in the inquiry, is this my authenticity here? And it may be a certain way in the moment that will be different a year from now. So am I my most authentic self? Or am I trying to get something out of this situation because I'm afraid to lose? So on the opposite side, in hand analysis, on the opposite side of self-love is fear of losing love.
Yes.
Right? So one of the ways that we can look at it is, am I afraid to lose something? If I am being a certain way or something is occurring, or I feel like I am not asking for what I want, am I afraid to lose love? And just acknowledging in that moment, wow, I'm afraid to lose this person's love. And then saying it. So one of the tools is being honest in the moment, and not honest that just comes out and spews all over somebody from a place of blame. Like, you always are this way, and this is then how I am. No, just say, you know what? And it could be, I've done this. You know, I'm really angry right now. And it's really because I'm afraid that you're going to not love me anymore if I tell you that I don't want to come out because I want to stay in my pajamas. Just an example. I didn't do it this way, but I've done it in many situations that way, where I was in my expression of my frustration. And in order to be love in a situation, right? Just honestly say, I'm afraid you're not going to love me, or I'm afraid you're going to judge me. And that's why I can't ask you for X, Y, Z. Oh, okay. So another tool is coming back to in being honest in the moment and not attached to how it plays out, because the person may say, I'm not making that, I'm not going to fulfill that request if you ask me this way. Okay, you could take it farther if you really care. But if you don't really care all that much about the situation or the person, you can say, I was just really vulnerable and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Right?
That's really a beautiful way also to get into a juicy conversation or a forgiving conversation with your partner, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if it's a male. If it was a female partner for a female, we operate a little bit differently, but evolved beings know that. But men want to take care of us. And my husband said to me, we've had this conversation recently, that when I'm vulnerable, he is so in love with me. And not vulnerable and bitchy, he's not. Not that that happens a lot, but you know, I asked him,
human.
Yeah, recently around our anniversary or something. And because I was like, well, how come then you did this? And now, you know, and now you're all sweetie, sweetie. And he said, it's because you are being vulnerable and loving with me and open. It's like, oh, so that really does work, right?
Yes, yes. And it works with our friends too. It works. I just had a very vulnerable conversation with my client and of course there is client coach, there is a certain relationship. Yet so often we don't become vulnerable with the people we work with, because we have this sense of, and I'm not saying you and me, I'm saying in general, all of us do it in some way, right? Like, I can't really share this, or I can't tell you this, or the way that you are interacting with me is not working. You know, this is the way we get to. So this being vulnerable and authentic, there is a book called Radical Honesty that's amazing. And I think it's like radical honesty, and underneath it is radical self-love. Do I love myself enough to be honest right now? Right? The third tool that's coming in, that's so simple. Everybody already does it. And it might have already been mentioned in this series. And I'm going to bring it up because I'm playing around with it like right now. To keep repeating word love, 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 until I feel it filling my body. So I walk my dog, and, you know, if I walk my dog, I may not walk around, say love, 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 because I don't live in Manhattan right now. In Manhattan, I may do that and people won't think I'm crazy, but, you know, I live in Denver, Colorado. So I say it to myself. I just walk around and say love
internally. You know, that's the best format, because when we talk about actually saying it and then trying to connect the synapses, but internally, they're also being built, because it's not getting distracted by anybody else outside. Right?
Yeah.
Do that when I'm needing to reconnect to that form. I am love. Love. And so it's so easy, isn't it? It's really, really beautiful. I'm glad you brought that up, because I really believe the power of using an affirmation into a mantra is the way to change our patterns, our brain system. And then if we can feel the results, we can lighten up and be that. And so it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, if those are struggling out there with self-love, literally, I would not say that your affirmation, and it could be, I am self-love. It could be so simple that just what Anna was saying. Love.
Yeah.
Or what I was saying, I am love. And say it enough times that you have to begin to believe it. And that's the point of turning affirmations into mantras.
Yes.
It changes. When I was dealing with cancer in 2020, I kept saying, I'm cancer free, but I said it 400 times a day. It took 3 days. That meant that was what, 1,200 times I had to hear it before I started to lighten up and it started to heal, because our programming is so conditioned strong that we are not enough, that we have to break that wall down, break that barrier. And then guess what? We are. And guys, don't stop there. Be aware when your love energy starts to fade away and pull it back.
Yeah. You know, I used this is so great. I used this technique of just saying love, love, love last week. There was a situation that I was really not wanting to have to resolve. I just wanted love to resolve it. I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to have to deal with this. And I went on a dog walk with my dog that you just heard a few minutes ago. And I walked around, and I'm in nature, nice trees, lake. And I just kept saying to myself, just love, 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 love. And I kept thinking about that situation, not how I wanted to play out. I'm like, it's this situation, it's this person, this is the conversation. And then I would say love, love. It didn't take more than an hour or two when I got back to my computer and the situation was resolved. I got an email.
Talking about a situation, not your energy. And so that's what people need to know, that the transformation is in progress and in process as we move along, right? So we think that we're simply correcting and bringing in a certain energy when actually we're opening up to the universe for everything to clear and to flow.
Yes, absolutely. In that moment, I raised the frequency of that situation to love, because I connected the love that I kept repeating, right? Love, love, the frequency of love until I felt it. And I would walk around and be like, love, like it just felt so good. And then I would think about this situation, right? And I didn't think about it with judgment or resentment. I would just bring up the person's face in my mind. And it changed the frequency of the situation. There was no longer that there didn't need to be friction or anything to resolve, because there was just love. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I have this awareness, and I know you do too, and you're the one that I want to talk to about it. And that is when we fill ourselves with so much love, right? And this is why the tools are important. And this is why our journey takes time, because as you said, started out about how your summer's going to look. How many people actually say, I'm going to do this summer and actually do it? Not very many. It's a dream. It's a wispy thing. Make it a reality. And then you dedicate to yourself how important things are. So when you do, you raise up to not just self-love. Lori and I call it, we have a book that's coming out called, well, I'll share it in a minute because I'm still asking Spirit if I should keep it quiet or share it. But it's about how we turn into love, right? It's not just about self anymore. It's universally bigger. And so it's so important to do that, because everything changes, just like the experience you shared.
Yeah.
When you shift who you are in your awareness, another outside situation moved. I've been thinking recently about manifesting, and I'm an amazing manifester, and I can say that simply because there's evidence to show that we can manifest instantly. And I've known that since I was a little girl. I've known it about healings, and so why not the rest of our life? And my family situation on the island, I've had my kids home with their spouses since the pandemic started, and since when I was first diagnosed with cancer back in 2020. And so everybody moved in, and everybody loves it there. Nobody wants to leave. Well, now this summer, at the end of summer, it looks like everybody's starting to go their ways. And so my oldest son, not that he is different than my younger son, he is in the sense that he's not as organized. And so mommy was nervous about her big baby going off And so I knew he didn't have a place. So I thought, wow, if while he's building his house with his wife, he had an RV, that would be perfect. Within a few days, I saw a sign on the buy nothing now for our island, and it was a free RV. And it was a 30-foot, and I'm telling you, the mattresses were covered with plastic. It's like 25 years old, but it's brand new with very low mileage. And I put in there what I wanted it for, my son and this, and that they came home for the pandemic. She didn't choose me at first, and she even has my last name, which is unusual. She didn't choose me, but I was the second person on her list. The first person did not respond to her when they won. Said, yes, I'll send my people to pick it up right away. And it was really a beautiful demonstration of trust and faith. And who gets an RV that's thousands of dollars free like that, right?
Yeah.
And we can manifest for others. It shows us that we can be creators, not just for ourselves, but clear, we can help others create. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And that's all about love and clearing away the garbage. Like, your work is on authenticity, so is mine. And so when we're authentic, we're clearing away that crap. We have our love muscles in place. And why not play with the universe? Why not make it delicious? And so again, we raise ourselves up to love.
Yes. So beautiful.
Do you have anything you want to add to that before we say goodbye?
Oh,
because I didn't want to just, I wanted us to talk a little bit about how profound that can be.
Yes.
People, because people say, oh, well, you can do it, but I can't. Well, that's not true.
Not true at all. Yeah, not true at all. It's when we really are willing to say, I could have it, it could work for me. I love myself enough for it to work out for me. Imagine that. Like, actually love myself enough to be willing to be crazy enough to believe that this thing could happen for me. Wow. I really love myself enough to be that crazy. Right? So even if you start there and say, you know what, this is craziest thing. Like, a lot of people still are in a space of, I can manifest this, but not that. Right? Especially, a lot of people don't believe they can manifest money. And we can, if we come from a place of love instead of fear. Am I crazy enough to love myself enough right now to actually love the money that's on the way right now to me? Can I be, and I don't know why it's coming in this way. Like, can I be crazy enough? I don't usually say it that way, but it's just coming in for this audience. Can I be crazy enough to love myself enough to say it's coming? And then I do believe there gets to be some kind of an action. Your action was, I look for it. And you did, and you found it. If you didn't look,
and it actually came to me in the news feed on Facebook.
Right. Great. But you took an action, and then you contacted the person, right? So there is always like, there is an action. Yes, there are steps. But raising it to frequency of love and loving yourself enough to believe that, it could happen for you. You could have it. It could be easy, even if there is a certain level of discomfort. You weren't the first person that it was going to go to. But in that moment, I highly doubt that you were like, so close. You were like, you probably said, if it's not this, then it's another. Must be.
You know what's funny is I even wrote her on the thing because I didn't see that she put anybody up there. And I said, so who won? I'm excited to find out. And I guess she's like, well, apparently you won, kind of thing.
That's so fun.
Isn't that wild? It's like I heard, we'll go up and congratulate the person. How exciting. And who does that also, right? Because it's not about keeping the energy like, oh, they won and not me. That sucks.
Yeah.
About celebrating everyone. It's the celebration of energy.
Yes. Oh, can you love somebody enough? Can you love yourself enough in the moment, whether you have something or not, so you can love that this person got the thing you really wanted?
Yeah.
And now you are in a frequency of having it too, because you are raising everything to love.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I know, me too. This is beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. You're always such a treat. I love it. And I'm thinking there's something you and I need to create together.
I'd love that.
And strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you, Mia.
And then we'll bring it to all of you.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you all for joining us for this episode. I know you love it. So let us know, write us and let us know. Thank you.